Heaven, in its infinite wisdom, never bestows its ultimate crown upon a soul until that soul has been completely, perfectly broken. This process of breaking is not an act of cruelty, it's the essential initiation. The overwhelming storm you experienced wasn't a random disaster, it was a clear signal, a cosmic wake-up call. Every single night you collapsed into tears, convinced you had been utterly forgotten. The universe was meticulously carving profound symbols into your very spirit. These were marks of destiny, intricate designs that only the fierce, unadulterated light of your future purpose would be able to fully illuminate and translate. You were certain you were watching your entire life dissolve and disappear, yet you were only shedding the weight of the habits, relationships, and false identities that could not possibly survive the vibrational leap to your next dimension. The chosen are never, ever born prepared or pre-made. They are meticulously forged in the relentless fires of solitude, baffling confusion, and that particular, refining heat which doesn't seek to destroy them, but rather to purify them into their strongest state. That is precisely why so many people never complete this transformation, because the true path of destiny must begin exactly where the road of comfort ends. It's not supposed to feel predictable or safe. It's designed to powerfully reawaken something ancient, powerful, and essential within you. The warrior, the healer, the messenger of the self who finally remembers their true, magnificent identity. If these specific words are resonating deeply within you, causing a tremor in your spirit, understand this. It's not a mere coincidence. It is an irrefutable confirmation. Something deep in the archives of your soul is remembering a binding contract that willingly signed long before you ever incarnated into this lifetime. It was an agreement to endure the heat, to rise from the ashes, and to be the unwavering beacon that carries light into the deepest, darkest places. That, fundamentally, is why the pain arrived first. It was never a punishment designed to make you suffer, it was a necessary preparation to make you ready. Tonight, we will peel back the mysterious veil to illuminate what truly happens in the invisible realms. We'll unveil the 5 invisible trials that every single chosen soul is required to walk through, often without even realizing they are tests. These 5 powerful moments are what shape you, rigorously test your resolve, and ultimately reveal the undeniable reason you were marked by heaven itself. Stay with me for a moment, because when we reach the explanation for Trial 3, you will finally grasp why your tears were sacred, precious offerings, and not a humiliating sign of weakness. The process always kicks off with the fall, not a minor setback or a small, easily forgotten inconvenience, but a complete collapse so devastating and deep that it effectively shakes the foundational ground beneath your spirit. Without warning, every single thing you had placed your trust in begins a rapid, painful process of dissolution. The people who once swore they were your family start to slowly and deliberately drift away. The careful, meticulously laid plans you spent years building suddenly scatter like inconsequential dust on a harsh, unrelenting wind. You are left standing in the wreckage, entirely surrounded by the fragments of a life that no longer aligns with your energy. Asking the universal question every soul screams into the dark night: what on earth did I do so wrong? The stunning and liberating truth is that you did nothing wrong. This seismic event is not punishment, it is a profound purification. Heaven, in its wisdom, must thoroughly dismantle the obsolete before it can effectively deliver the new. What your human eyes perceive as absolute chaos is actually the sacred architecture of your destiny being meticulously and powerfully rewritten. The familiar structures that once provided a feeling of safety have now become far too restrictive and small for the person you are powerfully becoming. The friendships that once made perfect sense now suddenly feel hollow and draining. The goals you used to chase with burning passion no longer manage to ignite your heart. This is not confusion, it is pure, unadulterated transformation. The universe doesn't stop and ask for your permission when the divine time arrives to fundamentally upgrade your destiny. It simply and dramatically breaks everything that cannot possibly follow you into your next, expansive chapter. And the painful truth is that this hurts immensely because the human part of you is actively mourning what the divine, higher part of you has already powerfully outgrown. You try desperately to hold on, clutching tighter to the old life, but the harder you grip, the faster it inevitably slips through your fingers. This is the ultimate paradox of awakening. What once felt solid, reliable, and permanent now disintegrates like fragile paper in your hands. You are not being deliberately destroyed. You are, in the most profound sense, being set free. You are being systematically stripped of the comforting illusions so that what is truly, unshakably real can finally be fully revealed. Consider this phase a powerful, cleansing sacred wildfire. Every single false attachment, every outdated identity you clung to, every weary mask you wore purely to survive, all of it must be consumed by the flames. This fire is intelligent. It instinctively knows what to utterly consume and what to eternally preserve. You are the forest being reborn. The flames might appear violent and chaotic, but they are diligently clearing the suffocating space for new, divine life to sprout. What feels like an unbearable loss is, in fact, your ultimate liberation. You are not losing stability, you are shedding an illusion of security. That job that was once your defining characteristic, it was simply a golden cage. That relationship that made you feel momentarily seen, it was merely a dim mirror reflecting your own internal emptiness. That comfortable routine that offered daily solace, it was a deceptive lullaby that kept your spirit deeply asleep. Now, heaven is actively and aggressively shaking you awake. Every single door that slams shut in your face is not a bitter rejection. It is, unequivocally, a redirection. Every painful ending you experience is not a punishment for past mistakes. It is a powerful prophecy meticulously unfolding. And yet, this is precisely where so many people fail. They frantically run back, desperately trying to rebuild the expired structure that heaven has already deliberately dismantled. They pathetically glue the broken pieces of an outdated, expired life back together and then genuinely wonder why they still feel such a profound and gnawing hollowness. But those who are truly chosen understand this core, immutable principle. You cannot rebuild what the divine has burned down. Your only option is to rise, fully transformed, from the glorious ashes. Therefore, do not rush in fear to escape this cleansing fire. Stay inside it. Allow it to thoroughly rewrite your core definitions of peace, genuine love, and absolute truth. The fire that feels like it's mercilessly consuming you is actually consuming everything that is not you. Listen closely to this profound whisper. This entire collapse is an intense, powerful form of sacred surgery. Heaven is surgically cutting away everything that is false so that the authentic you can finally take a deep, unfettered breath. You are not being unjustly penalized. You are being rigorously purified, and one day very soon, you will glance back at this time and realize that the storm's true purpose was not to violently destroy your life. Its single aim was to powerfully reveal your wings. But be warned, the test is far from over. Once the ferocious fire recedes and the ashes gently settled, a much deeper, more profound silence inevitably follows. You will search instinctively for familiar faces and find absolutely none. You will reach out for the world you once intimately knew and suddenly realize with a jolt that it effectively no longer exists for you. That is the moment the next trial begins at the sacred school where silence becomes your only, most trusted teacher. Then, as suddenly as it began, the deafening noise of your old life completely fades. The world around you becomes quiet in a way you have never once experienced before. People may still physically surround you, but their incessant words no longer manage to land on your spirit. Their familiar laughter feels strangely distant, and their trivial conversations echo like hollow whispers from a separate reality that you no longer have any desire to belong to. You look around, and the realization hits you with profound force. You have irrevocably outgrown the frequency of your former life. It is as if the universe has intentionally pulled a thick, mysterious veil between you and everything that once felt comfortably familiar. This isolating, uncomfortable quiet is trial too, the sacred loneliness. It is not a punishment for some unseen sin. It is a calculated, necessary separation for the purpose of elevation. The universe does not isolate you with the malicious intent to break you. It isolates you with the loving purpose of preparing you. The chaotic, incessant noise of the world would relentlessly drown out the soft, guiding whisper of the divine. And so, the celestial orchestrator systematically removes the distractions, one by one. With surgical precision, the superficial messages stop arriving. The unfulfilling invitations gently fade away. The entire energy field around you fundamentally changes. At first, this pervasive silence feels absolutely unbearable. You start anxiously asking yourself, Why is absolutely everyone suddenly disappearing from my life? But the profound truth is this: they are not maliciously leaving you. They are being deliberately removed from your frequency. Heaven is actively tuning your soul to a much higher, purer wavelength, and not everyone possesses the capacity to breathe comfortably at that spiritual altitude. This isolating period is where the genuine, most important refinement of your character begins. It happens in a silence where no one is present to see it. The applause you once craved suddenly stops. All external validation utterly disappears. No one around you truly understands your deep, visionary purpose anymore, and not because the vision is inherently wrong, but because it is still too early for their perception. You are living intensely in a future timeline that the current, slower world has not yet managed to catch up to. The magnificent seed inside you is still quietly underground, completely unseen by the world, but it is already powerfully and vibrantly alive. You will awaken one morning feeling a strange, deep-seated ache. It won't be in your physical body, it will be in the very core of your soul. It is the profound, spiritual ache of existing permanently in between worlds. You are no longer the diminished person you once were, but you are not yet the fully realized magnificent being you are powerfully becoming. You find yourself scrolling mindlessly through the curated lives of others on the internet, and you anxiously wonder, why does everyone else seem so perfectly connected, so deeply loved, so incredibly sure of their path? But remember, that is the most persistent illusion. The sacred ones, the chosen, are never fully understood during their intense periods of transformation. You are being carefully hidden, not maliciously forgotten. You are being diligently prepared, not arbitrarily rejected. In this intentional solitude, a powerful metamorphosis begins to occur. Slowly, steadily, your very perception begins to shift. You begin to truly hear the sound of your own quiet, steady breath and, for the first time, realize its deeply divine nature. You begin to feel the powerful, rhythmic beat of your own heart and instinctively know it is fully aligned with something immeasurably greater than yourself. You begin to clearly see that you were never truly alone. You were simply surrounded by the wrong, distracting noise. And that is the pivotal moment when the stunning revelation dawns. Loneliness is not a devastating absence of people. It is, in reality, the powerful presence of pure power. This isolating, silent stage is where your inner, authentic voice becomes exponentially louder and clearer than all the fleeting, external opinions of the world combined. You start to unequivocally recognize your own unique, vibrational energy. You feel fully formed ideas and powerful insights manifesting out of absolute nowhere. Wisdom begins to freely flow without the need for traditional teachers, and concrete guidance appears without the need for external intermediaries. Heaven begins to speak directly to you because, now, for the very first time in your life, you are quiet enough to truly listen and absorb. But here is the profound, confusing paradox: the deep, quiet silence that is actively healing you can also brutally tempt you. The insecure, human part of your being desperately wants to frantically run back to the noise, to the easy distractions, to the false, comfortable illusion of belonging you once felt. You might intensely crave that superficial connection, but what your soul fundamentally requires is sacred communion. Do not, under any circumstances, fill the sacred silence with chaos and unnecessary noise purely because you are afraid of the sound of your own deepest thoughts. That intense loneliness is not an empty, terrifying void. It is a powerful, fertile womb. You are not being starved of connection, you are being profoundly nourished by stillness. Think of the great prophets, the revered saints, the visionary leaders throughout history. Every single great soul was first required to utterly vanish before they could be fully and powerfully revealed. Moses famously ascended the mountain alone. Elijah sought refuge, hidden deep within a cave. Even Christ intentionally withdrew to the desolate wilderness before his sacred mission could possibly commence. Isolation is the essential initiation. The desert experience always, without fail, precedes destiny. This is the invisible soil where your deepest spiritual roots take hold and profoundly deepen. You learn the invaluable power of self-validation. You discover the unshakable peace that comes from your own presence. You start creating not for the fleeting praise and applause of others, but purely from a deep, undeniable place of authenticity. You stop frantically seeking external mirrors because, now, You have profoundly become the mirror. The overwhelming loneliness that once instilled such a powerful terror in you transforms, becoming your most rigorous teacher, your most trusted sanctuary, your own personal cathedral. And as you willingly sit within that sacred, profound silence, something subtle yet powerful shifts. A faint light begins to steadily flicker inside your core. It is small and tentative at first, but it is entirely, wonderfully undeniable. It is the powerful glow of self-awareness, the initial spark of your divine identity. The outside world may not yet fully perceive it, but the higher realms of heaven absolutely do. You have successfully crossed the threshold into a new vibration, a state that can never be faked or forced. But be strongly warned, this newfound peace is exceptionally fragile at its inception. The universe will very soon test whether your prolonged solitude has truly made you undeniably strong or merely politely quiet, because immediately following this deep, restorative silence comes the most deceptive, subtle trial of all, the one that has the power to bring even the strongest souls to their knees, weeping. This is the treacherous, crucial phase where the majority of chosen ones fall. This is where your faith meets its single fiercest, most seductive test. It doesn't arrive in the furious heat of the storm, but deceptively, in the soothing, gentle calm that follows it. After successfully surviving the chaos of the collapse, after rigorously enduring the barren silence of isolation, something eerily familiar begins to gently knock at your door. The knocking is soft, subtle, almost lovingly gentle at first. It does not come heralded by blaring horns or flashing, urgent warnings. It arrives innocently wrapped in a thick blanket of comfort, a wave of powerful nostalgia, and the compelling illusion of safety. The estranged ex-partner suddenly texts you, swearing they have fundamentally changed. The old, unfulfilling job calls out of the blue, promising an enticingly better salary or a promotion. The same old friends who once vanished into thin air suddenly reappear, warmly inviting you out again. It feels, on the surface, like genuine, overdue peace, but it is absolutely not. It is, in reality, a test cleverly dressed up to look like an act of undeserved mercy. The universe has a strange, compelling way of officially verifying your growth. Once you successfully reach a new spiritual level, it will strategically and intentionally send back the exact same scenarios to you with the same people, the same patterns, so purely to observe if you still, out of habit, respond in the same old, self-sabotaging way. This is not arbitrary punishment. It is powerful proof that seeks to determine whether the profound transformation you experienced was genuinely real and permanent or merely a temporary, superficial phase. Heaven silently asks you, will you willingly go back to the very thing that fundamentally broke you, simply because it now feels familiar and safe? And here is the brutal, core truth that makes this particular trial so excruciatingly painful. The people and situations returning are not inherently evil. They are incredibly seductive precisely because they once provided you with a sense of comfort, a facsimile of love, or the illusion of stability. But they now belong only to an older version of you, a version that has ceased to exist. When you attempt to force yourself back into your past, it is akin to frantically trying to wear clothes that no longer remotely fit your vastly expanded spirit. You can forcibly tug them on, but you will absolutely not be able to breathe. The greatest, most persistent enemy of destiny is not always a terrifying, visible darkness. Sometimes, it is the insidious power of familiarity. Familiar, deeply ingrained patterns. Familiar, comforting faces. Familiar, easy-to-access emotions. They softly whisper a powerful lie. Nothing truly has to change. You can still grow into your potential and effortlessly keep us, too. But the chosen ones understand the immutable law. You cannot possibly carry yesterday into your tomorrow. You cannot walk confidently into your divine purpose while still holding hands with your unresolved, lingering past. The moment you utter a single, quiet yes to the call of your old life, you are simultaneously, silently uttering an unequivocal no to the higher call of your new one. And this hurts deeply. It pierces your heart because this profound test doesn't just address your logical mind. It mercilessly pierces your deepest heart. You will find yourself weeping uncontrollably, not because you are suddenly weak, but because you must consciously, actively release the things you once desperately prayed for and clung to. You will feel profoundly torn between the comfortable known of what once made you feel Safia and the terrifying unknown of what now calls you urgently to walk exclusively by pure faith. This is the pivotal moment where heaven watches in complete, absolute silence, not to see if you will choose the right answer, but to see if you have truly learned to trust the unseen. You will begin to notice a peculiar, telltale sign. The very instant you sincerely consider reverting to your past, your spirit will feel intensely heavy. Your entire energy field will immediately shift and constrict. It will feel precisely like desperately trying to breathe while submerged underwater. That undeniable, spiritual discomfort is your perfect confirmation. Heaven is sending you an urgent, powerful warning that the old, lower frequency can no longer possibly sustain your vastly expanded soul. You have changed too much. You have profoundly outgrown the limiting vibration of the person you once were. Furthermore, whatever returns to you never comes back the same. The ex who claims sincere change still carries the exact same emotional patterns. The old job that looks incredibly stable will still relentlessly drain your core essence. The old, seemingly welcoming circle of friends will still unconsciously attempt to keep you small and contained. It is all simply recycled energy, cleverly wrapped in slightly prettier paper, and the universe is simply watching, with keen interest, to see if you will be tempted enough to unwrap it once again. This is why so many chosen souls weep profusely during this phase, not from a general sadness, but from the unbearable weight of realization. To truly evolve, you must be willing to disappoint your past. You must bravely break the heart of your past self in order to sincerely honor the divine calling of your new one. You must willingly mourn what you have irrevocably outgrown, even if that thing still feels, in some residual way, like a safe, familiar home. This is a profound sacred pain, the necessary, agonizing pain of metamorphosis. The caterpillar does not look back and mourn the leaves it once ate when it finally masters flight. You are not losing comfort, you are bravely gaining wings. But the moment you turn back to the familiar, you instantly trade your promised flight for the deceptive illusion of safety. Listen intently to this profound message. Every single time you decisively reject what is familiar but no longer truly aligned with your soul, a new, massive gate opens in the invisible realm. Each powerful no you whisper to your insistent past is a thunderous yes that heaven instantly records for your expansive future. Every single tear you shed during this pivotal moment actively waters the ground of your next, unimaginable miracle. Therefore, before you even consider looking back, remember the tragic lessons of history. Orpheus lost his beloved the very moment he turned to look behind him. Lot's wife was turned to salt because she deeply longed for a life that God had already decreed no longer existed. And today, countless souls are tragically frozen in that same, fatal moment, completely unable to move powerfully forward because they couldn't bear to let go of the past. The chosen ones don't merely walk away from their past, they deliberately bury it. They consciously burn the bridges that lead backward, knowing with absolute certainty that the cleansing fire that closes one restrictive path will powerfully and perfectly light the next. As you stand at this final, trembling crossroads, suspended precariously between a fading memory and an imminent destiny, the universe whispers one final, crucial question: will you choose what is comfortable, or will you choose what is divinely calling you forward? Because immediately following this agonizing decision, after the cleansing tears, the persistent ache, and the profound silence, here comes the next great trial, the most invisible, subtle one, the trial that tests your very last reserves of faith when there is absolutely no outward sign, no comforting noise, and no confirmation whatsoever. This is, undeniably, the quietest, most grueling season of the soul. It is the period that feels utterly endless. It is the strange, confusing time where heaven seems to completely stop answering your desperate pleas, not because you have been abandoned, but simply because it has already spoken its final word, and the plan is in motion. You relentlessly keep praying, working, and hoping. Yet absolutely nothing in your external reality seems to move. No doors swing open. No clear signs miraculously appear. The entire world surrounding you becomes eerily silent once again. And you begin, inevitably, to wonder if you somehow tragically missed your one moment. But here is the sacred, hidden truth that most people never fully grasp. The silence is not an absence of God. It is an intense, deliberate incubation. This is the long, arduous cocoon phase. It is the vital stage where everything appears utterly still and stagnant on the outside, but internally, something magnificent and divine is meticulously rearranging every single particle of your existence. You are absolutely not being ignored by the divine. You are being powerfully rewired. Heaven is actively, strategically synchronizing timelines, precisely positioning the right people, delicately adjusting intricate energy fields, and aligning every single variable to perfectly meet you at the exact vibrational frequency of your next, higher chapter. But the restless, human mind, which is impatient by its very nature, inevitably confuses this stillness with total stagnation. And that, right there, is where genuine, powerful faith is truly tested. Because in this isolating stage, you will instinctively look around and see others relentlessly advancing, loudly celebrating, and brilliantly shining, while you are forced to sit in silent obscurity, painstakingly building something that no one can possibly see yet. You will feel utterly invisible, but this invisibility is actually heaven's deliberate and protective way of guarding your premature greatness. If the world could fully see what is powerfully forming within you right now, they would instinctively attempt to label it, desperately limit it, or outright steal it. Therefore, the divine intentionally hides you until you are so spiritually mature and strong that you are completely impossible to break. You wake up every single day and you do the work you know is required. You pray sincerely when absolutely no one is watching your efforts. You keep consistently showing up, even when there is no applause or external recognition. You relentlessly pour your entire heart into powerful visions that have not yet manifested into reality. And that is the exact moment when the insidious, doubtful whispers begin. Maybe you were wrong all along. Maybe this is never, ever going to happen for you. But those paralyzing whispers are not coming from heaven. They are coming directly from fear. Because fear is always at its absolute loudest right before the breakthrough arrives. Let me tell you something truly sacred. The silence of God is never empty. It is completely, powerfully full of ongoing construction. Behind the quiet, unassuming curtain, powerful angels are actively negotiating on your behalf. Your very name is being whispered and mentioned in important rooms you haven't yet entered, by people you have never even met. Someone, somewhere in the world, is being meticulously prepared to fling open a door for you without even knowing the profound, spiritual reason why. The divine alignment is in active progress, and the silence you hear is the powerful sound of heaven building. Still, this trial has the ability to completely break even the strongest individuals. You will be powerfully tempted to frantically prove your worth, to desperately rush the necessary process, to make a whole lot of noise just to feel seen and validated again. But you must not yield. You are not intended to be fully visible yet. Visibility before true maturity destroys divine purpose. When a small, precious seed is planted, it completely disappears beneath the rich, dark soil. From above, it looks exactly like death. But under the surface, the life-altering miracle has already begun its powerful work. Roots are forming and deepening where absolutely no one can see them. If you prematurely dig that seed up just to anxiously check on its progress, you will absolutely kill its potential. The same immutable law applies powerfully to your destiny. So, stop anxiously comparing your internal timeline to the external timelines of others. You are not late, you are being meticulously timed. The universe is weaving your inevitable manifestation into a state of divine perfection. Every single perceived delay is actually protection. Every door that closes is, in fact, a powerful choreography. Every quiet, lonely night is an intense, sacred construction. You are not stuck, you are being strategically stationed. But, yes, it is intensely lonely here. The world does not celebrate unseen, enduring faith. There is no external applause for quiet, relentless consistency in the darkness. Yet, that is precisely where the most powerful, influential souls are born. In the deep shadows, far away from any recognition, where intention is purified and the disruptive ego is allowed to die. What the world cannot see is what heaven absolutely treasures the most. The soul who keeps walking with certainty even when they cannot see a single inch of the road ahead. And just when your deep faith begins to seriously thin, when you start quietly whispering in the darkness, "God, have you utterly forgotten me?" That is the very instant something subtle yet powerful shifts, a faint flicker, a strong, undeniable divine nudge, a completely random, unexpected opportunity that makes no logical sense. It is the very first, delicate crack of dawn after a brutally long night. It is the undeniable signal that your long, lonely waiting was absolutely not wasted time. So, you must hold on. Do not, under any circumstance, quit before the magnificent blooming occurs. You do not realize it yet, but you are standing mere